All right, so we're in Nusa Dua at the moment, and you can see from the streets and also from the sky the aerial picture of what's going on here. But you know, let's kind of go through and head towards Pandawa Beach and see what it looks like from the sky here and the streets. Off we go. Okay, so Nusa Dua is, if you watch my most recent Market Insights episode, it's doing okay. It actually looks more peaky than it did a few weeks back, so that part's good. We're gonna come upon this turnaround, this Balinese turnaround, which is a traditional way to get people to slow down at intersections in order to avoid accidents. I've always found that through the traditional principles of Hinduism, you can get kind of similar results as practicing science, but through, you know, controlling human behavior through, let's say, guided spirituality. All right, anyway, we're flying through and looking at the outskirts of the main Indonesia Tourism Development Complex, the BTDC area, and to the sides of us, well, there's even traffic at this time of day, which is unusual. Maybe that's a good thing. But to the side over here, to my left side, what you can see is the Marriott Vacation Club and also the Accor Vacation Club. These are, surprisingly, these are timeshare organizations, are timeshare branches of these major brands, and they generally get pretty stable occupancy. And the reason for that is the timeshare owners have already committed to, I guess they've committed to purchase their holidays here, so they're going to come every year, right? Which is kind of an interesting way to lock in occupancy at a time like, you know, it was popular. These days timeshares have less than pristine reputation. Okay, so as we're flying over, it's sunset right now. I can't see it from here, but you can probably see it from the aerial view that there's a golf course over on the right side and the beach is over on the left side. And that's cool. The Bali National Golf Course is here. And in my observations over 2 decades, golf has significantly diminished as a sport. Before, it was a far more prominent sport. A lot more people were active in golf. But these days, it's a little bit under, it's a little bit underpopulated. We're going to pass by the St. Regis, which is a beautiful 5-star resort here on the left side, and also home to, I think, some pretty cool iconic features from New York. The windy season at the moment makes it also quite ideal for kite flying, and you'll see kites fly across on empty fields here in Nusa Dua and also in Sanur. All right, we're going to come up on the hill here. And this hill is where we rise from the beaches of Nusa Dua up to the Mulia. The Mulia has an interesting history. I watched the Mulia constructed from a forest to a finished hotel during the 3 years I was working at Nusa. So basically, there was such a behemoth, like such a giant, that they absorbed most of the concrete, most of the rebar, most of the aluminum, I think, produced in every marketplace. They were such a disruptive or such a gigantic customer. This land that is on the opposite side of the Mulia, right over here, used to be a warehouse. And I think it still serves as a warehouse. Back then it was a warehouse for the construction site. These days it looks like a warehouse for whatever the Mulia needs. I see some containers also housed there. Okay, seems like there's some new roads being opened up here. Also, from the ground, looks like they cleared out some of the forest behind the Mulia. Looks like there's some show units for these white Mediterranean villas again, like as if Bali didn't need any more over here too as well. The Aman project is just down that road behind me, which is pretty cool. All right. This area happens to be one of my favorite parts of Bali for the reason that it's predictable, it's very expansive, there's never any traffic, there's no pollution, and yeah, I guess it's low density. Okay, we came upon this bridge a few weeks back and it was devastating. It was devastating to see the amount of forest that had been cleared and a lot of habitat that previously had been for the monkeys and the wildlife here are completely destroyed. So you can see the scarring on how much the original habitat is destroyed. And a lot of this is unfortunate because, you know, the owner of the land doesn't care, right? The owner of the land thinks it's more profitable to not have those trees and have those trees. So yeah, that's just too bad. That's too bad, and it's something that I hope can change over time. There's a construction crane up ahead, which means our drone pilot should probably watch out for that because it can be a bad day for a drone. And we're coming upon the Bali Hilton. This used to be a Japanese hotel. I believe it was called the Nikko. And the Nikko stood here for many years until the Hilton recently took it over. And looking upon both sides, I see construction cranes and workers too right now. There's quite a few construction workers walking around this area, which is generally indicative of large projects. And I think, yeah, there are large projects in these ravines here. I see a concrete pour happening over there to the right. There's another deep ravine again, and the ravine seems to be filled also with backfill and retaining walls and also more construction, which is interesting. Now we're coming upon the edge of Nusa Dua and the beginning of a new territory. This is the Kempinski Hotel. It was host to the G20 event when that happened, which was marvelous. That was a time when Bali got a lot of international attention, and the main symposiums and events were held over in the Kempinski. It's probably one of the most amazing and astounding hotels. Ritz-Carlton is right here too as well. Now we're going to pull out onto Jalan Nusa Dua Selatan. So this is a brand new road that connects Nusa Dua to Pandawa, and it's a real pleasure to fly and drive here because it's really nice to be on a road where there's nothing. And what I mean by nothing is there's no war rooms, there's no traffic. You can just you can fly and drive at your heart's will, and a lot of empty land, which I can foresee being valuable in the near future. And it's probably going to be valuable in the near future as expansion on the west side of the Bukit gets more and more congested with all the problems with the traffic situation that you see backing up in Uluwatu, which is always problematic. Yeah? But at the moment, this area is fairly clear. It's easy to drive, and there's no congestion, and you know, it's beautiful. You can see the sunset. There's that real feeling of being on the frontier. It's kind of like the feeling I get most recently from going to Lombok, which is great. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Apparently there's some large construction sites, as you can probably see, that I can't see at the moment on either side, and that gives you also a picture of what's happening on the aerial perspective. Fascinating, a new gas station has been rigged up over here. That perhaps is good. Obviously people need gas if they're going to go on long stretches of new highway. Okay, not much else. If you're curious about botany, the prevalent vegetation here are teak trees. The reason a lot of landowners plant teak trees here is because they stand up very well in this climate. They grow, and they're the only type of vegetation that grows. And then I suppose that's another reason for the deforestation, because once the teak trees have kind of grown up a little bit, then eventually they become harvestable, right? So it's like getting your dividend from a longer period of time on the area. Okay. We're passing by another, I think, interesting feature, which you should be able to see on the overhead, which is a concrete batching plant. Concrete batching plants are typically a good economic indicator. They mean that somebody is building. You don't build a concrete batching plant like the one you see over on the left side of the screen unless there's a major customer or major customers ordering the concrete. So generally a good sign indicating economic growth, meaning like somebody's planning to build a few hundred to a few thousand rooms. So a large order of concrete and a large supply of concrete is necessary for these cases. We also see cellular communication towers, these base stations that are rising up in this area. Another good sign, another sign of infrastructure coming into place in order to fulfill the potential growing demand and also people who will be, I guess, living and vacationing there. I'm not sure if it's possible to see this on the drone, but if we get more altitude, you can see the cliff line. So these cliff lines along the south side of the road are beautiful, and they have these very populated, pristine, desolate beaches. And I mean that in a good sense. I mean that's good. You want beaches with less people generally. Those are perceived as higher quality beaches. Okay, we're reaching pretty close to the Pandawa junction, and I think from there we'll probably stop and call this Jalan Jalan an end. Hopefully you've been able to see Bali's newest frontier from a bird's eye perspective, but also here also on the ground as well, which is pretty interesting. Mostly what you see on the ground is this. You just see this kind of empty highway. There is some stretch of businesses that are starting right here near the quarry site where there used to be an abandoned airplane. I think that abandoned airplane got captured by a Russian developer, and now it's a successful Airbnb attraction, which is cool. But now in its place are these riding stables that basically do horseback riding. All right. Okay, once we get to the Pandawa junction, I'll stop this video because right now I'm still curious to see what might be ahead. I mean, see if there's any surprises or any unexpected new developments that you should know about. Well, that's interesting. Okay, there's a tour bus. So tour buses are coming apparently from Nusa Dua because there's less traffic this way and bring visitors to Pandawa and Melasti Beach. And now since it's kind of getting to the sunset time, this is generally when they head back for dinner. Okay, we've reached the Pandawa junction, and that's where we're going to end this episode. And yeah, till the next Jalan Jalan, and hopefully this has been a rewarding experience for all of us. All right, see ya.